The Buffalo Bills are back to work as they prepare to head down to Pittsburgh as they take on the Steelers this Sunday at 4:25. Though, because the team did speak on Friday, the next we're actually going to hear from the Bills will be on Wednesday when the first injury reports for this week are released. Going around the rest of the league, however, the Bengals gearing up for Thursday night when they take on Baltimore for Thanksgiving. T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson not going to play this Thursday, but the anticipation is for the Bengals that quarterback Joe Burrow will be back. That'll be the first time for him playing since September. The Browns have named Shedeur Sanders the team's starting quarterback when they do take on the 49ers this Sunday. Dylan Gabriel has clear concussion protocol, but it's going to be Sanders who gets the start. The Giants fired defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, and Patriots left tackle Will Campbell appears to have suffered an MCL sprain, and while more testing has to be done, head coach Mike Vrabel today with the media said he is hopeful it is not season-ending. And then Week 12 is going to wrap up tonight. Carolina, they are out west to take on the 49ers. Kickoff is at 8:15, and you can listen to that game right here on WGR with coverage beginning at 7:30. The Sabres are off for the next few days. Their next game is on Wednesday. Tonight, though, we have 7 games in total. Some of the notables, though, include the Devils hosting the Red Wings, and Columbus, they're on the road versus Washington, both at 7. Florida is at Nashville at 8, then 2 games at 9 to wrap up your evening. Senators at the Kings, and the Mammoth hosts Las Vegas. Then in college hoops, UB men are down in Florida, and they're hoping to stay undefeated. They are currently taking on VMI. The Bulls do hold an early 8-7 lead. The rest of that game can be heard over on the Bet 1520. Sports Talk on WGR is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch local NFL games live every Sunday all season long, and visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They have this Panther sound effect that is just the cheesiest, stupidest sounding thing. Big voice guy going, Panther goal scored by Sam Reinhart. Where'd you get that thing?
I trapped it. Been keeping it at my bathroom at the motel, feeding it old pizza.
It's Mike Schopp.
If you're calm, that wondrous big cat will be calm too. But if you're scared, that beautiful death machine will do what God made it to do. Namely, eat you with a smile on its face.
And the Bulldog. On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Man, that might be my finest work. Which is, that cuts both ways. I'm happy that I get engagement from people when they hear that, or even when they hear the Carolina Panthers sound effect, which I think is similar because they are also the Panthers. I get people thinking of me and tagging me in social media posts, and that feels nice. I appreciate the engagement, and I also think that, you've been doing something 30 years, and that is something you're known for that is pretty embarrassing when you really get right down to it. But, who wants to hear about what's going on inside of my head right now? No, we got our own problems. We all collectively have a common problem, and it's deciding just how much panic we should be feeling about the 2025 Buffalo Bills. I think that's where my head is at. Following Thursday's loss, we had Friday to kind of pour it over. Then the weekend came, and we watched a bunch of Week 12 games, and now we're back. And it's a weird week. We got a holiday in the middle of it, so we're off at the back end of it. A lot of you probably are also off at the back end of it. But the Bills have a game looming on Sunday in Pittsburgh, and it's a game that could really dramatically affect the wild card seedings. Yeah, you want panic? I know that's not really panic, and I'm not at all. I shouldn't have used the word panic so early in the day because I'm not sure that panic is where I don't think I'm at panic, but I'm definitely shook. I think there's a difference between shook and panic, and I'm shook about things here with the way the standings look. The Bills are sitting in 7th spot in the AFC right now, so still in the playoffs, but they are clinging to that last wild card spot. The team they play this coming Sunday in Pittsburgh is right behind them. The team they lost to this past Thursday is also right behind them, as are the Kansas City Chiefs. Baltimore is leading the AFC North now, by the way. Like, that happened from 1-5 to 6-5, and they have passed the Steelers on, I think, division record at this point, and they still have 2 games to play. Anyway, you know what the standings look like, I think. You know what the Bills have looked like. I'm much more confident of that. And what I'm wondering is now through 12 weeks, just where your head is at, where our collective heads are at here. Is there, and here's why I don't think panic is something I would use to describe my state of mind. We'll see about you at 803-0550. Mike is out sick today, so you just got me here. We've got Ross Tucker booked at 4 o'clock for his weekly visit. Again, with the holiday schedule, we had to shuffle things up a bit. We talked to our usual Monday 4 o'clock guest, Eric Wood, on Friday because the Bills played on Thursday. So anyway, Ross Tucker today at 4. We'll touch base with Sal Capacio at 5 p.m. today, almost exclusively football wall-to-wall from me today. But as is usually the case when one of us is out, it's a two-man show. We are certainly content and satisfied often enough to talk amongst ourselves, but I don't have that luxury today. So if you want to get in, there should be plenty of time for you at 803-0550. Really, the reason I think panic is not in order, as bad as Thursday looked and felt, and as bad as the standings may look and feel to you, because I'm done chasing the division. I'm done chasing the one. I mean, I know mathematically it could still happen, but I keep waiting for the Patriots to stub their toe, and they just keep finding ways to beat these teams that, aren't their equal, clearly. But the games are tighter than maybe you'd like. I don't know what Boston radio sounds like right now, but I'll bet they're probably spooning right now with the Patriots, because it's back, it's new, it's exciting, right? So, let me make you some breakfast. No, don't get out of bed. Like that. That's probably Patriots fans right now, right? Whereas we're sort of like, you make your own eggs. Is kind of how we're feeling, I think, because the mighty have fallen here. The Patriots are 10-2. The Bills are at like 9% to get there. I know. Right? Isn't it just 2 years ago they came from 3 back with 5 to go to pass Miami? Well, that was Miami. I do not think New England is that pushover caliber that Miami turned out to be. We've seen, really, that's the last time Miami was even ever taken seriously. It's been really 2 years of just sort of spiraling, and we'll see where they go from here ultimately. But none of our concern right now, because at 4-7, they're not in the picture. New England is. And I think New England, the kind of team they have demonstrated to be in just 12 games under Mike Vrabel and under the steady direction of second-year quarterback Drake May, I just feel like that is a team that is not going to collapse. All right. Well, could they still lose a game that they shouldn't lose? Yeah. I mean, every good team, even great teams, will do that. The Bills have done it almost every year that they've been lording over the AFC East. So I think the Patriots could do that, but it's 7-4 versus 10-2. I've got the one game left. It's not even at the very end, so I don't have all this time to make up the ground. Of course, I know I could still pass them after they play in Week 15, but I'm sort of resigned to living in wildcardville, and my mindset is now going to be on 2 things: protecting that turf, the wild card turf, from the likes of Pittsburgh and Houston and Kansas City. Jacksonville and the Chargers, that's where I'm living now, with the same record as the Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars at 7-4. And I want to just guard that turf. I'm not of the mind to get too far into arranging how I want the seating to go. There's just so much to still happen here with, well, in the case of the Bills, 6 games to go. New England only has 5 because they still have yet to have their bye. They have a bye coming up after this week's game in which they take on, hang on, I had it here a second ago. Who do they play this week? Why don't I have that? I thought I had that in front of me. Who do the Patriots play this week? Do we know? Of course, we can find out. I can find it. Just got to click a different spot. They play the Giants. On Monday night. Okay. I just found a bug in my what I thought was my grid of AFC playoff contenders. It doesn't have the division leaders on it, so I'm going to need to fix that and address that. I thought I had a schedule master sheet, but turns out I don't. Anyway, so look, it's to me it's just a long way to go. You don't even really have anymore the Super Bowl odds to cling to. If like you've been, I think maybe after the Bills lost to Miami, they were still right up at, if not the best odds within the top 2 or 3. They were right there. There are now 7 teams with better Super Bowl odds than the Bills. The Broncos have the same odds as the Bills at plus 1,300. Maybe you will find it curious or notable that New England is not one of the teams that is ahead of the Bills in this. But in the AFC, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Baltimore, all ahead of the Bills. Denver tied, and then the Bills, and then, as I said, New England. So the reason I think not to panic, and I'll get to calls real quick after I just finish spitting this out, is that I just don't see a team that has to be above and beyond what the Bills are capable of. It's a flawed conference. It looks to be a flawed conference this year. You can poke holes in the teams at the top. Even New England, I think, is not infallible. But they've got the lead right now, and I'm inclined to let them in Denver. It didn't really resonate with me that Indianapolis lost in Kansas City yesterday. In fact, I was in the forum that I'm most comfortable watching that game, which was rooting against Kansas City. So I couldn't even get that right, because that's how much Thursday's loss to Houston damaged my number 1 seed aspirations. There's no longer a challenge in who to root for when somebody's playing Kansas City. It's just simply block the door from Kansas City getting in. And unfortunately, the Colts were unable to do that, so they dropped to 8-3. Denver's there at 9-2, 10-2 on top. There's New England. I mean, we can talk about individual teams here, like who scares you the most, but the Bills have already beaten Baltimore. They've already beaten Kansas City. Those 2 teams would still be my answer to who is the scariest AFC contending team out there, I think. And yes, that is largely track record, but Baltimore, well, they've won 5 in a row since their 1-5 start. So they are where they are. And I think like having to deal with them in a 4-5 matchup, say they win the North, which I would predict they do, and you end up as the 5, like there's a round 1 wild card matchup that doesn't sound super fun, right? But even Baltimore, even Kansas City, while you've had your trouble with both of those teams, and certainly your trouble more so just you can't get past Kansas City when the playoffs get here, there is not a team out there. I don't think New England, Denver, or Indianapolis, the teams that have been sort of hovering at the top here, and Indy is still there 3rd in the conference despite their loss yesterday. This is not a team to me that you oh boy, I'm not going to be able to deal with that, right? Are some matchups less advantageous than others? Of course. That's how sports works. But there is not a team out there to me that is just above and beyond. So the Bills, I think, are probably objectively, all right? I know what they look like. I know they couldn't block Houston, and I know their offensive plan. They couldn't seem to find a decent pivot to handling the pass rush, helping out the edge guys, whatever they would have needed to do. They just didn't have an answer on Thursday. So I know it looked bad, but to me the Bills are as capable as Kansas City or Baltimore, and therefore as capable as any one of these teams of winning it all. Is it going to be easier to go on the road and play 3 games if that's what it comes to? Of course not. But considering the opposition, I just don't see I don't see a cause for panic, but it does hurt to have a year where New England, Denver, and Indy are the teams at the top and have the Bills not be able to take advantage of that and put together a season where they could obtain the 1 seed and get the week off and be at home and all of that has avoided them. It's eluded them this entire time that they have been a contending level team. They've never had it. They've had a couple of races for it, but they just have never gotten there. And I think this year it's in the wind. It's gone. So bad news. You're going to play 3 games. You're probably starting on the road. Almost definitely starting on the road. Maybe you'll get a home game if the top of this thing is as unreliable as I think it is. That's maybe all the reason more to try to strive for the top wild card so that if there are upsets up top, if Kansas City ends up below you and they take out Denver or New England or whatever, you could end up playing a game at home before it's all said and done. But the 1 seed to me in the division, the reign over the division is over. 10-2 versus 7-4 right now. I mean, I just don't see it. But again, all that said, I still think the conference is up for grabs. And that should be, I think, enough to sort of keep you from feeling like it's all over, right? We have been here before. We have been at it feels all over before. 6-6 2 years ago, coming off that Philly loss, I think was the record. And that's the year they ended up catching and passing Miami on the last day of the season. I'm not saying it's going to be a cruise here. It's going to be tense. It's going to be tense. Now I'm battling Jacksonville and the Chargers and the Steelers and the Texans and the Chiefs. Whereas if I New England's just got to keep me at bay, and they've got the AFC East. And that's really where the Bills were last year, and that comfort is gone. But I don't think it means it's, never going to stop raining or anything. 803-0550 is the number to call. Really, anything is on the table here as far as the Bills go. Your concerns, what you think of their chances, etc. Really, is there a team out there that really worries you? Other than the Bills. I mean, I think the Bills are as capable as anybody in the conference of beating anyone and losing to anyone. That is what wide open is, and that's what I think the AFC is right now, despite New England having the lead that they have and Denver already having 9 wins. All right, let's fire it up. 803-0550 is the number. Brad is up first this segment. Hi, Brad. Thank you for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, what's up, Bulldog? Rolling Dolo, and I appreciate you. I have a quick statement and a couple questions, and I'll hang up and listen if that's okay.
Okay.
So, basically, I feel like the offensive line's getting a bad rap. I mean, I know that they kind of let us down in Houston, but I just feel like they've been busting their hinds the last year and a half, and people are forgetting that, and it just got lost. I mean, it's a short week. I mean, they're probably just tired, you know what I mean? They do a lot. And so with that said, I'd like to know why we're not running Ray Davis more, because he seems like he's really got some legs under him. And we're underutilizing Curtis Samuel, in my opinion. I feel like maybe we could use him out of the backfield or use 2 backs. And that's my question, is what you think of that.
Okay, thanks, Brad. Well, Samuel isn't healthy again. So I don't feel like that really rings with me at all. To me, he just has not been able to stay on the field consistently enough for me to ever really count on him and use him more. Ray Davis has had, despite the kickoff return against Houston, a nothing burger of a year. I feel like the Bills run the ball great, and when they put Ray Davis in, that stops. So it's been a weird year. I was really counting on him to be a nice compliment to James Cook, but James Cook is so much superior that I'm not ready to try out Ray Davis at this point. I think they're gonna ride and die with Cook. Now, as they go down the stretch here, am I gonna listen to going light workload wise on the guys that really matter? Yeah, I think I am. Because while I think you still want to try to win every game and end up in the best spot you can, I think getting healthy, giving guys that have carried a lot of the workload a little bit lighter workload at this time of the year might be called for. I think it's time to be patient with injured guys and get everybody healthy so that when the crush really begins in January and you have to go on the road to start the playoffs, which is extremely, extremely likely, I think you want to have as much of your roster healthy as you can. So I'm nowhere on your last two questions or comments. Like Davis and Samuel have been non-factors largely on offense, and I don't think the Bills are missing something by not trying harder to get them off. I think it's just not working. As far as the line goes, I don't think anyone forgets that they have been excellent. It's one of the reasons why I was in here leading up to the Houston game going, I like my guys. I'll take my chances. Let's go play the feud. All right, I've got talented, highly paid tackles, and you've got not highly paid yet because they're young. Well, Hunter's relatively highly paid, but Anderson is still on a rookie deal. You've got talent there, and okay, it's time to slug it out. And the Bills absolutely got the jersey pulled up over their head and got right hands rained down upon them repeatedly by Houston. So I don't know about tired. It is a short week, but everybody's dealing with the short week. They just got the clocks cleaned. But it is still and should be considered a strength of the team. Now, Spencer Brown is going to miss some time. And that's sort of one of the guys I'm thinking about when I say just sort of heal up, don't rush anybody, take your time and make sure you've got as healthy a roster as you can have come January. Brown is really one of the guys I'm like front and center in that point. But look, they got clobbered. So yes, it's right to say it's been a strength of the team, but it rightly is getting criticized for the performance they put on the field on Thursday, and I think you'd be crazy not to be concerned about a backup playing right tackle going into Pittsburgh to play T.J. Watt and the Steelers. So that is going to be a spot to really keep an eye on as we go through this week. Thanks a lot for the call. Jerry is next up. Hi, Jerry. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, Chris. Been a while. How you been? Good?
Good, man. Good. Hope you're well, too.
I am. I'm not afraid of anybody. Yesterday proved how really goofy this league is, and I think we should take the Tampa Bay Lightning approach. Just get in and be healthy and be good at that time. Yesterday there was like 4 games where the wrong team won because of something goofy, whether it's coaching and analytics or Jalen Hurts just not being good when they're behind or Lamar not being good or, since he hung with New England with their 3 best offensive players, 3 of the best offensive players in the league not being on the team. How does Indy not know the analytics tell you not to punt there? Have they not watched Bills-Chiefs games from 2000 to 2021? It is a league where anything can happen. You break out that cliche any given week. It has never been more true than right now. There is not one the Giants are horrible, and they almost beat Detroit yesterday and should have beat Detroit yesterday. It is just such a goofy league right now, Chris. Get in and be healthy.
All right, Jerry, thank you. Appreciate the call. That's very much where my head is at. I'm not listen, I'm not here to tell you I'm relieved to not be chasing the 1 or the division. And look, I have no idea where the Bills' heads are at on this, right? But I think it makes sense to sort of step back now and lick wounds, get healthy, and try to gear up for what realistically will be a run of playoff games away from home, which is not something the Bills, they've, of course, played road playoff games, but they've opened the playoffs at home every one of these years they've been in. I shouldn't say that they played on the road in 19, but since they became this class of team, okay, 19 has always sort of been over there. 20, they became a Super Bowl contender, and they've had home games. And they haven't had to, run the rough rapids of going on the road right away. But, You can do it. I mean, Kansas City did it a couple of years ago. They didn't. I don't think they played 3 on the road, but they came here in the divisional round and then went on the road in the championship round and won the Super Bowl. So it's not a direct correlation because they, I think, played a home game in the wild card round before coming here to face the Bills. Nonetheless, I think it's still wide open, as bad as we might be feeling about how the Bills have looked. They're 3-4 over their last 7 games. The 4-0 start has turned to 7-4 just like that. 803-0550 is the number. We'll keep the calls going here. It'll hit a timeout. Ross Tucker at 4 o'clock. Sal Capacio at 5. Mike is out today. I'm the Bulldog, and you're listening to WGR. All right, folks, FanDuel's got it going on.
over prone. Houston, with no run game, ran for over 100 yards. The O-line got worked. And, oh, by the way, they have no deep threat at all. Other than that, things are great. A lot of times, quarterbacks let down a franchise. I feel like the franchise can't get the play in on time is letting down Josh Allen.
There's some words spoken by Colin Cowherd about the state of things here with your Buffalo Bills. 803-0550 is the number. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp is out sick today. Hope to have him back tomorrow. We're at the arena tomorrow. There's a Roswell Park cancer screening event that we are proud to be involved with tomorrow. So our show will be there. So any of you who are planning to come by, please stop and say hi. We'll be there the usual time, starting at 3 o'clock. That means, in case you don't know, 803-0550. How's it looking to you here? I think the AFC is still wide open. I'm not going to pick apart a lot of what just got said there by Cowherd. I mean, plenty of it's right. The deep threat, the passing game, not getting the play in on time, different things are certainly on the table as criticisms of this team. But I don't see where the team is that isn't pulling a wagon of their own of that stuff. I guess, New England up at the top at 10-2. Their problem, I guess, mostly is us believing that they can do it this quickly. I don't think that's a super deep and talented roster, but they're, I think, well coached and buttoned up. And May is having an MVP type season for them. Good luck catching Matthew Stafford. The Rams look like the best kind of barn fire, man. Like they are just going out in the NFC. But I don't think the AFC, I don't believe there's a team out here that I'm not going to be able to deal with when I see them in January. And so to me, it's still sort of wide open, which is really the best I can do today, because sitting at 7-4 tied with Jacksonville and the Chargers is also not where I thought we'd be when this season began at 4-0. 803-0550 is the number. Tom is first up this segment. Hi, Tom. Thank you for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, how you doing, Bulldog?
Great.
Hey, first of all, you got to use that nothing burger as a fantasy team. Sell it off to Schopp. That's where there were pieces and stems. Just want to throw that out there.
Okay, noted.
Anyways, my problem with this season, 7-4 is not a gross record. We were 7-3 before this Houston game, which we had a very good chance of winning, aside from the 8 sacks and whatever. But the problem is New England's record.
Right.
Any other season, they're like 6-5, 5 or 6, whatever the hell's going on, and that's what bothers me. And to be honest with you, Bulldog, I know you said you're not panicking, but I'm scared. At Pittsburgh is, I know Jeremy and Howard is like, okay, forget it, we're going to win. I'm not that confident. I wish I was, but any road game's scary. I don't care if we're playing at New Orleans. Any road game is hard. And I don't know. I hope the hell I'm wrong, but
yeah, I hear you. All right, Tom.
That's my feeling.
All right, appreciate the call. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Yeah, look, if you're gonna say it's wide open, that means you could lose to any one of these teams. The good news, not really good news, right? 7-4, you banked 7 wins already. You've got 6 games left. 4-2, you're in, right? That's 11-6. Sorry, still 17 games. Still not confident and comfortable with the numbers. But anyway, 4-2 gets you that. 3-3, there's 10-7, and I don't know, that could get a little dicey. But the Bills have got, if you're done with the division, if you're done with the 1 seed, which I for all intents and purposes, like conversationally, I'm done with it. I just don't see New England with their schedule faltering enough to crack the door open for me. So I don't have to stress as much about the week to week. Like, I'm not telling you I want them to go into Pittsburgh and lose, and like we're all going to feel good about that after it happens. But there's enough left here, I think, where you can see them getting there even if they stumble, even if they don't run the table from here. Because, again, running the table would be necessary if you were really realistically chasing the one or the AFC East or both. And I just don't see it. I know the math is not telling you it's over, but it feels over to me. So take a breath, get healthy, right? Just figure it out, and hopefully be the best version of yourself come January, when you're probably almost definitely going on the road. Like, that's sort of where my head is at right now. And it's, it's an adjustment, and being relaxed about it doesn't mean it has to end well. I mean, they could lose a road wild card game to anybody. They can lose to anybody they're playing. They can certainly lose to any team that makes the playoffs. There's no question about that. Steve is up next. Hi, Steve. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Chris, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
None of them really worry me in the AFC, but what worries me about New England is I was not a believer. And it was before the New England game, and I can't remember, it was you or Schopp, you mentioned Vrabel, and you said Vrabel's that kind of coach that when he was with Tennessee, the team always stuck around to the end of the game somehow. They were always, they did just enough to be there at the end. And I think it was you who said this. And this is exactly what New England does. And that's exactly what Vrabel did. And the guy's a good coach, and he's better than I'm giving him credit for. And I don't know why, because I thought he was an excellent coach with Tennessee. He had his problems there when they got rid of A.J. Brown, and I think that's why he ultimately left there.
Yeah.
But he is good. And I guess my biggest fear is, what if New England makes it to the Super Bowl some way, somehow? You think the cry for McDermott to be gone now is big? Can you imagine if that ever happened? Because I think we do have a better roster, barring the injuries. But we got to remember, too, New England had some high draft picks because they weren't that good over the last few years. We had lower first-round or top second-round picks, and let's face it, we blew a lot of them. We really did. And I think that's the big deal now. And what's most distressing to me is we spent so much capital on defense this year in the draft, in free agency. And our defense, I think, is almost worse than it was last year.
I do think, Steve, thank you. I appreciate the call. I'm going to move on here. You've given me plenty to chew on here. I think the injuries are a real, tremendous factor in what is happening to that defense. And so, yes, it's factually right. They dove in. They just cannonballed into rebuilding, restructuring the defense. Premium assets, that was it. The biggest free agent signing was a pass rusher. I guess Palmer outranks contractually what they did with Joey Bosa, but the litany of assets, right? The draft picks, the free agents, everything they tried to do, and it's not just this year; it's year over year, and so much of it, I think, has just gotten absolutely torpedoed by injuries. Ed Oliver starting there right up front, the opening of the season, and right on through to Hoyt coming back and having the impact they envisioned, and then losing him to an Achilles tear, and that's the end of that. And just everybody in between has taken turns, and so I think they're having a very hard time staying stable. That said, look at the offense in the games that they have lost. I know the Miami got to 30 eventually. The dam broke, but that was 16-0 into the fourth quarter. The Bills scored 13 points against Miami. They scored 14 against Atlanta. Right? They got to 20 against New England, and where did they top out on Thursday? Was that against Houston? 19. So, to me, as much as you're worried, I'm not talking to Steve, just you out there, right? The run defense, I can't stop anyone. I got all these problems. I don't think their defense has really gotten them beat. I mean, their defense had a terrible half in the first half against Atlanta, gave up a field goal in the second half. You could say similar about the Houston game, but I don't think they were terrible. They gave up a bad drive at the end of the first half. Still, field goal in the second half. Where is my 16-0 into the fourth quarter in Miami? Where is my offense? Where is my fastball? Where is that side of the ball? 23-20 is the final score against New England. So whatever my defense has as far as flaws go, and we all know them, and suddenly not being able to get to the passer was a big one on Thursday. I mean, they just could not do anything. I think Bosa playing with that, he doesn't have the club on anymore, but I don't think he can still use both arms effectively, has really limited him and his effectiveness, and nobody else really got a sniff of Davis Mills on Thursday. So you can put that on the pile too, right? All these flaws, all these problems, the games they've lost, the side of the ball that should be the strength of this team is what let them down in all four of the games that they've lost. So does that mean the defense won't get them beat eventually? That the defense won't keep them out of the playoff pool? That their defense won't get them beat in a playoff game? No. But I'm telling you right now, my bigger concern, and it has been all year, and it has been year over year going back to all the complaining and the hand-wringing about Kansas City and what they do to the Bills in the playoffs, this offense has let them down in the games they've lost. Plain and simple. And that is the bigger issue. And, you know, I've got Josh Allen there, and I think you want to hope like they can figure out a way to stay out of the ditch that they so frequently are sitting in with that offense. Maybe that won't happen, but for all the concern about the defense, the offense is what has gotten them beat this year in the games they've lost. I don't even know that it's, I mean, of course, you argue all you want. I mean, just look at the games, look at the scores. 14 points against Atlanta? What? Oh, they were blitzing. What do you mean they were blitzing? I should be able to kill that. So that's still where my focus is largely at this point. 803-0550 is the number. More of your calls coming up right after a quick timeout here. Ross Tucker at 4, Sal Capacio at 5. Your calls sprinkled in between. I'm the Bulldog. Mike Schopp is out today. You're listening to WGR. Folks, Bulldog here this Hey, we're rolling along with us here on a Monday. Us being Zach Jones and myself. Mike is out sick today. 803-0550 is the number. We're through 12 weeks. The Bills are looking up at New England, and there's a gap there that we weren't expecting. The last caller mentioned, like, New England is the real hassle with all of this. Like 7-4 last year would be cruising to the AFC East title. And we all thought New England was on the right track. I do think very highly of – I can't stand Mike Vrabel, but I think highly of him. I think he's an excellent coach. Don't ask me to explain all that. I think he's excellent. I thought they were on the right track. Drake May looked really good last year. So I'm not stunned that they're good. I'm stunned that they're 10-2. I just did not expect that. Even with the soft schedule. They just have really avoided – making a mess of a game that they should win. They managed to do just enough. They are the real problem here in all of it. And I'm at a point where I'm done chasing them. I mean, I'm going to be chasing them the rest of the year, but I don't think I'm catching them. So go ahead. First place. Now I got to figure out how to make sure I keep my foot in the door in the wild card spot. And look, the division race would have been in bad shape if the Bills had beaten Houston. But they didn't, and now this game with Pittsburgh is like to stay in a wild card spot, basically, which I was not expecting a couple of weeks ago. Robert is first up this segment. Hi, Robert. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hi, Bulldog. How are you, sir?
Good, man.
Quick, I moved to Buffalo 52 years ago, and was a Cowboys fan before that, and I'm flabbergasted that the Bills are not undefeated. We can talk about this and injuries and everything else, but their talent is there. They're the best team in the AFC, I believe, and with the ILL. And I just look at it, and I played football, and I played in college, and I'm not going to throw a coach under the bus, but I want to see what your opinion was. Could they be undefeated in your mind? And two, what would you do if you were the owner to correct things right now?
Well, I don't think there's anything to be done right now, Robert. I mean, you're 11 games into a season. I don't think upheaval is imminent at all. I mean, I don't know. If this year doesn't meet whatever criteria there is over there, then I think everything should be on the table. But we got to see how this all ends first. So that's that. Should they be? I mean, they have not lost a game here where, to me, I'm looking at the opponent and imagining like, oh, well, you're not a better team than them. But it's football. I don't know. I have a hard time saying this team should be undefeated. What I do think, I feel very strongly about, and I don't know, maybe this even set you off to want to call, the point totals in their losses are alarming for a team that has Josh Allen as their quarterback. And for all the hand-wringing about the defense, I've got a 3-point loss where I scored 20, a 10-point loss where I scored 14. Yeah, okay, a 17-point loss, but I only scored 13. The game was 16-0 in the fourth quarter in Miami. And then Thursday is a loss where I scored 19. I mean, I know like 30 is the average that gets thrown around from last year. And I know I'm not going to get there every single week, even if I end up averaging 30. But I think their offense has been the bigger letdown. But do I think they should be? I mean, there's no undefeated team. And the reason is that there's no super team. There's no perfect team. And I don't think the Bills are that so above and beyond talented that it's some, huge upset that they don't have a perfect record. I mean, I wouldn't be able to get there myself. Thank you. Appreciate the call. We'll hit up a timeout here. Ross Tucker is coming up here at the top of the hour, rescheduled from tomorrow because of the short week here. So we'll visit with Ross today, and then we'll be back for more of your phone calls after that. So do stay tuned. One of our favorite segments of the week with Ross Tucker coming your way right after this on WGR.
The Buffalo Bills are going to get back to work this week as they prepare to head down to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers this Sunday at 4:25. Though it's going to be a bit of a weird week. The next time we'll actually hear from the Bills is going to be on Wednesday when the first injury reports for the week are released. The same, though, cannot be said for much of the rest of the league, especially the Bengals, who are gearing up to play on Thursday, Thanksgiving, when they take on Baltimore. We already know T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson not going to play. However, the anticipation is that quarterback Joe Burrow is going to play the first time since September, but it is not official as of yet. What is official? The Browns naming Shedeur Sanders the team's starting quarterback when they take on the 49ers this Sunday. And this also comes with Dylan Gabriel having cleared concussion protocol. Other news around the league, the Giants have fired defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, and Patriots left tackle Will Campbell appears to have suffered an MCL sprain. And while more testing does have to be done, head coach Mike Vrabel said it is hopeful it is not season-ending. Week 12, though, will wrap up tonight with Carolina out west to take on the 49ers. Kickoff at 8:15, and you can listen to that game right here on WGR with coverage beginning at 7:30. For the Sabres, they've got the next few days off. Their next game is on Wednesday. Tonight, though, 7 games in the NHL. Some notables, the Devils hosting the Red Wings and Columbus. They are on the road versus Washington, both at 7. Florida's at Nashville at 8, then 2 games at 9. Senators at Kings and Mammoth hosting Las Vegas. That's going to wrap up your evening. And in college hoops, UB men currently deadlocked with VMI 36-36 at the start of the second half. The rest of that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Sports Talk on WGR is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch local NFL games live every Sunday all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Well, we got in the air on time. The flight has been pretty smooth so far. We're scheduled to land at the appropriate time. So, so far, so good. Mike is out sick today. I am the Bulldog along with Zach Jones. On the line right now, Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side. Ross, the Raiders. I was limited to hearing only what Red Zone gave me, but it was plenty of Browns Raiders yesterday. The Raiders, they're the Jets with mountains. They are so bad right now, Ross. Like, what is going on with that franchise? They're in Las Vegas, Nevada. Like, they should be a flagship. And I know they got a ton of history, but my God, things are bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. And I know a lot of longtime Raiders fans that have said to me the last couple of days, it's the worst they've ever seen it. It's the worst it's ever been. Their offensive line is pretty clearly the worst in the NFL. I think it really starts there. And I got to tell you, I'm surprised because I kind of thought, I don't know what they won last year, 3 or 4 games, 5, whatever. But I thought they made major upgrades with Geno Smith at quarterback, Pete Carroll at head coach, and frankly, I think they thought they did too.
Yep.
And as a result, I really thought they'd be respectable this year. Some people were saying 8 or 9 wins. I wasn't going to go there, but I thought 6 or 7, and be a reputable team, but they've really been anything but. That was bad.
Yeah. What was it like, because everyone seems to not be able to stop talking about Shedeur Sanders. What was that experience like being in the booth calling his first NFL start?
It was great. Yeah, it was exciting. As a broadcaster, I worked really hard to kind of get to this point where I'm getting a chance to call games on TV for CBS. And I think because of the time I put into it, I want the more people watching, the better. Mm-hmm. I want to do the biggest games I can do. I'm excited for Friday. I'm doing Iowa at Nebraska at noon Eastern on Black Friday for CBS. That'll be on every TV in the country. You want the more people watching, the better. So it was really cool because you knew there was a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz, that there'd be a lot of eyeballs on the game, and I thought he really acquitted himself pretty darn well. I mean, the numbers weren't necessarily spectacular, but the eye test kind of told me that he made major strides from the week before against Baltimore. I mean, it was ugly the week before. You know, they brought all kinds of pressure, which, by the way, I don't know why the Raiders didn't bring more pressure at Shedeur Sanders. That was strange to me. After the Ravens had so much success, that would have been exactly what I would have done. But for whatever reason, they didn't. But when there was pressure, he didn't back up or retreat in the pocket. He stepped up. He had one interception where they kind of fooled him, so credit to them for that, and I think he'll learn from that. But other than that, I thought he looked like a competent quarterback. I mean,
right.
You know, I don't want to get too carried away, but you know, there was a lot of different ways that could have gone, and I would say overall it was a favorable evaluation for a rookie fifth-round pick in their first start, and he absolutely deserves this second start they're going to get against the Niners.
Well, you might guess, knowing us like you do, although Mike's not here today, that me opening with questions about the Raiders and the Browns tells you where our heads are at here collectively after Thursday's loss in Houston, a game that the Bills still had a chance to win at the very end despite not really being able to handle Houston's elite edge rushers. That tandem of Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson just had their way with Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, and then eventually Ryan Vandemark when Brown left the game injured. I'm guessing any analysis of what went on Thursday in the loss in Houston for the Bills begins with what happened and didn't happen up front.
Yeah, I think so. And for those people that don't know, I don't know if you mentioned it, Bulldog, or not, but I did the CBS Raiders Browns, which is why
right.
Bulldog started with that. Obviously, I think people probably figured that out by now. You know, I thought that Bills game Thursday night was troubling. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. And I would say especially troubling probably for Joe Brady and Josh Allen in my mind. I mean, I know a lot of people will talk about the offensive tackles, and I'm not here to tell you that Spencer, who was clearly less than 100%, or Deion played well, because I wouldn't say that they did. But I'm a little bit confused as to why Joe Brady wasn't giving them more help, especially when it was pretty clear that that was going to be a tough matchup for those guys. And by the way, those guys are a tough matchup for anybody.
Right.
I mean, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are awesome. You know, the Texans' defense is awesome. They are elite. And then also, you know, one of those games where the Josh Allen hero ball stuff really, really did not work. I mean, those sacks he took, I have to go back and look at them, Bulldog, but a lot of them were on him. I mean, he's doing his Fran Tarkenton back there and losing so many yards, holding the ball so long, they have no chance on those series after Josh takes some of the sacks that he took. That was, I thought, a disappointing performance from Josh in that regard. I think Joe Brady could have done more to help the tackles, and I think Josh Allen could have done more to help the team.
Yeah, the not helping the tackles is the biggest thing I'm bewildered about from the game here still all these days later, Ross, because, like, you know, we went into the game, and I got people dunking on me on social media because I said all week, yeah, okay, the strength of them is their edge rushers. I like my guys over there, Dawkins and Brown. Let's go play the feud. And it was pretty evident pretty early on that the Bills were going to be, you know, at a disadvantage there. Not having a pivot ready, like I would think, you know, what do I know? It's a short week on top of it, but I would think any game you're going into, the possibility of your tackles getting hurt even is there, and a matchup out there that could be problematic. You'd have to have something ready to help, you know, swing a double team, take turns, chipping, whatever. And there was just so little of that I really felt, for me too, Ross, because you know how it is in the NFL with fan bases. Everyone comes for the coordinator first because we know, I knew what play was coming, or why do you run that play? It's always, you should have done the other thing. Whatever you do that didn't work, you should have done something else, right? And I think it's just a little too easy to criticize the coordinator from out here not knowing so much of what goes into it. But this was a game where I ended up very confused by what Brady called and how he did not provide guys who clearly needed help with help.
Correct. And there's always things built in every game plan. You always have protection calls where you can have the tight end over there chip on his way out or stay in the block. You can have the running back chip on their way out. You can slide the line in one direction or the other so that the tackle has inside help. Seemed to me like those guys were isolated one-on-one a lot, like almost all the time. And the Bills paid for it dearly. And I put a lot of it on Joe Brady, a lot of it, because once you see that that's not a favorable matchup, it's really incumbent upon you at that point to fix it, to help those guys. I always say, okay, a guy gives up a sack, you can live with that. Once a guy gives up a second sack, then immediately I always think that anything after that, kind of on the coaches, right? I mean, anything after a guy gives up 2 sacks or is getting beat, it's really on the coaches because you have an issue there, and it's up to you to fix it.
Right. That's definitely where I ended up on Thursday, and that's a new spot for me, like I already alluded to. We're talking with Ross Tucker, our NFL Odyssey Insider. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side. So now, Ross, New England wins again. They're 10-2. The division is slipping away from the Bills. 5 years running, they've been on top of the AFC East. Last year was a joyride. We all thought New England was coming, but I didn't expect them to be coming this hard, this fast, to be 10-2. Meanwhile, the Bills are licking wounds. They got a lot more guys injured on Thursday, so it's going to be kind of patchwork here. And I'm sort of settling into a reality where it's just, okay, I'm going to have to go on the road because I don't see them catching New England at this point.
Well, I don't see them catching New England either at this point, especially with New England's remaining schedule. I think at this point, the bigger concern and question is whether or not they're going to be able to do enough just to make the wild card. And this game on Sunday against the Steelers will go a long way in that regard, a long way. I mean, I think that they're more likely than not to make the playoffs, but it's far from a given, with the way they played this year. I think that would be the concern at this point. They just got to make sure they get in the tournament. And I think where those games are and who they're playing should really be the least of their concerns right now. They need to get those other guys healthy, and they need to make sure they get in the tournament and that they're playing their best ball when they get there.
Who do you think is the best team in the AFC right now? Or is it like, could you pick any one of 5 teams at this point?
Whew. That's a tough one.
I ask, because I think it's one of the things that I'm sort of leaning on today. Like, it feels bad to have to give up on the division and the 1 seed because the 1 seed has been so elusive and it's so valuable. And it stings to have a year where New England and Denver and Indy are at the top of the conference and the Bills can't take advantage of that and get the 1. But all the same, looking at the pool, even the teams up top, to me, there's not a team that I go, they already beat Baltimore this year. They've beaten Kansas City this year, and I know the playoffs are a different animal, but there's not a team that I think I can't handle. Even Houston's pass rush, as hard as it was there, the Bills are at the 20-yard line with a chance to win the game. So I don't think there's any team that's head and shoulders, and that, I think, is the only comfort I've got left at this point.
Yeah, no, I think I'd say Denver or New England, but I don't think that Kansas City or Baltimore or Buffalo, for that matter, should be afraid of them at all in the playoffs. I think the best team, tomorrow on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, I'll do my power rankings, but I'll give you a sneak preview today, which is that it seems pretty clear to me that the Rams are the best team in football. And I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, I think it's by a decent margin. I mean, I think that they are really firing on all cylinders, both offense and defense. I think they're one, and I'm not sure anybody's really close to. If there is, probably Seattle, maybe Philly. I don't know, but I wouldn't be overly scared of any of the teams in the AFC. That's not to say that Denver and Indy and New England aren't good, but I don't think that you look at them and think, wow, that is a really, really good team, like you do when you look at the Rams right now.
Right. No, I definitely agree with that. Indy's got to be feeling like they let one. Yeah, I mean, 20-9. I mean, it's not like they were in position to run away and hide in that game, but they really turtled down the stretch in that game in Kansas City yesterday, didn't they?
They did, and over the last month or so, they have not played as well. That loss to the Steelers, they found a way to win the game over in, I think it was London, late in OT.
Mm-hmm.
But they really have not played as well over the last month as they did in September and October. You're looking for the teams that are peaking, that are playing their best football in December, and the Colts are one of the teams kind of going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, no doubt there. Like, I think we were talking late in the week here, and Mike's not here to bring this up, but he was looking at action on the Colts missing the playoffs entirely, which I think is possible. Their schedule is tough here moving forward. So to me, they don't have to make it as much of a cinch as that may have looked like. From here, they've got the Texans twice, the Jaguars twice, and in between the Seahawks and the 49ers. That's the Colts schedule. I mean, I don't have home and road here on this sheet I'm looking at, but I mean, to me, they could lose any one of those games.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think the only flip side of that is how much confidence do you have in either the Texans or the Jaguars to catch them? I think the Colts are still probably better than those teams, and I think they play the Jags twice, so
right.
that those games will really be what decides it. But I don't look at either the Jags or Texans and think either one of those teams are exactly world beaters or, likely to be able to go off on a win streak here that lets them get ahead of the Colts in the AFC South. But, I think it says something that the AFC South has 3 legit playoff contenders. Feels like it's been a while since we said that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Ross Tucker with us here for just a couple of more minutes on the Wester Hotline. So I know you were obviously in Vegas doing Browns-Raiders while the Eagles were playing Dallas. But I know you closely follow the Eagles and involved with their preseason broadcasts and even in-season. And a rough week, right? A lot of questions about Jalen Hurts and their passing game and all this sort of stuff. It's been going on, very soap opera-ish type stuff with the Eagles here for a couple of years running, but they get off to a great start, 21-0, and just stand by and watch the Cowboys nip them in the end. It's got to sting just a bit.
It stings more than that. I think the Eagles and their fans realize just how valuable that number 1 seed is, and they had pole position for it. They probably have the most favorable schedule down the stretch. They played most of their tough games, and then here you are, you're up 21-0, and if they win that game, they more or less clinch the NFC East because Dallas is in second place, and they were looking like the Super Bowl caliber team, up 21-0. And to blow that game in the fashion that they did, I'll be really curious to see how they react on Friday. They can go one of two ways. They can kind of be mad about it and bounce back and have a big win against the Bears on Black Friday, or, they could do what they did earlier in the year when they gave up a 2-score lead to the Broncos. Everybody thought they'd bounce back, and instead they blew it against the Giants on Thursday Night Football. Giants took it to them. So I think the psyche of this Eagles team in general But in particular, this next game is something really to watch.
Yeah. You already mentioned you've got Iowa, Nebraska college football on CBS. You said that's Friday. So what does that do to Thanksgiving for you? This has got to be tough for you because I know like a holiday like this. I mean, you're not one short on takes about the Thanksgiving table. I'm sure of it. But travel's got to be kind of messing with you pretty hard, I would think.
Yeah, I'll fly out there on Wednesday and then fly back after the game on Friday and meet up with my family and be with them Saturday and Sunday. So, there's pros and cons of every job. Someone was saying to me, is it tough for your daughters that you won't be home on Thanksgiving? And I said, they don't know any different. I don't think since they've been alive, I don't think I've ever been home on Thanksgiving. So they don't really know, like, it's funny when you get sort of in the entertainment business or broadcasting, it's like that is their normal. Their normal is that their dad works on Thanksgiving, and in fact, this will be at least the third year in a row, maybe more, that I'm working on Christmas. So fortunately, the Christmas games have been Philly, Pittsburgh. This year it'll be Washington.
That's
because
close.
I live in Harrisburg.
Right.
We're able to see what Santa delivered in the morning, and then I drive to the game. So that's been helpful that I still get that aspect of Christmas. But like I said, there's pros and cons of every job. I have an absolute dream job. I only ever had two dreams growing up. One was to be a player. One was to be a broadcaster. They both come true, so I'm certainly not complaining. You take the pros and cons of everything, and I'm so fired up for this game. I love big rivalry college football games, and then can't wait to spend a bunch of time with my family Saturday and Sunday.
So is there a whole Thanksgiving repeat for you, or is that like asking too much?
No, there's not. We'll do Thanksgiving as a CBS crew.
Right.
On Thursday, which is kind of nice, turkey and mashed potatoes and the whole deal. And then when I land Friday night, they actually do something pretty cool at the Jersey Shore Thanksgiving weekend. And I haven't been a part of it before. So I'm going right to the Jersey Shore to be with my family there and experience, the activities they have down there on Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah. See, what you need to be is the person who's in charge of the meal in order to have it rescheduled to fit your schedule. This happens in my house. We've been hosting Thanksgiving since we moved into the house we're in now, still since 1999 in my house. Both sides of the family, we're lucky enough to be able to fit everybody in there. It's tight, but we do it. And the only years where we've pushed it off to Friday instead of Thursday are years where my wife has to work on Thursday because she's a nurse practitioner and the schedule changes. So like one year, the first year we were going to have to reschedule it. I broached, I can handle cooking a turkey. Like, why don't we just do it? And like the look I got, Ross, I've never suggested that again. You want to move it a whole day because you're working? That's fine. Let's move it a whole day. I don't mean to say like I can make Thanksgiving dinner, but I guess I kind of implied it, and that was a mistake.
That is funny. Yeah, I can't make anything other than scrambled cheese eggs, so that's not me.
All right, dude. Well, best of the family, safe travels and everything. Enjoy the weekend next weekend when it comes, and thanks for fitting us in on a special Monday with a busy week.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your flexibility. I have to talk with the Nebraska players and coaches tomorrow at our normal time, so thanks for moving for me. Works out with Bills playing Thursday night, and they got a big one Sunday. We'll talk next week.
All right, good deal, man. Again, safe travels and happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, Ross.
Thank you. Likewise, Bulldog.
That is our man, Ross Tucker, on the Wester Hotline. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. All right, we'll fire it back up here. Is there somebody in the AFC that scares you more than the Bills are scaring you? You follow me, right? You're nervous about the Bills and how Thursday looked and how some of these other losses have looked. But look around the conference. I mean, I don't think there's a team that I'd say they can't handle. I mean, but, at the same token, they also could lose to anybody, as demonstrated by, really how it's gone this year so far. Really, that's mostly the Miami game talking there. 803-0550 is the number if you want to get in. We've got open lines for you for the next half hour or so. Sal Capacio will join me at 5 o'clock to pour over the weekend that was and then set the stage for this week as the Bills will travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers, 4:25 on Sunday from Pittsburgh. Mike Schopp is off today, along with Zach Jones. I'm the Bulldog, and you are listening to WGR.
The Buffalo Bills will get back to work this week as they prepare to head down to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers this Sunday at 4:25. But with us already hearing from the coaches last Friday, we actually won't hear from any coaches until Wednesday when the first injury reports are released for this week. The same, though, cannot be said around the league, especially for the Bengals, who are playing on Thursday for Thanksgiving when they take on Baltimore. T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson not going to play. However, the anticipation is quarterback Joe Burrow is going to play the first time since September. The Browns have named Shedeur Sanders the team's starting quarterback when they do take on the 49ers this Sunday. And with that, Dylan Gabriel has actually cleared concussion protocol, but Shedeur Sanders will still be the team starter. And Patriots left tackle Will Campbell appears to have suffered an MCL sprain, and while more testing has to be done, head coach Mike Vrabel is hopeful it is not season-ending. And then Week 12 does wrap up tonight with Carolina out west to take on the 49ers for Monday Night Football. Kickoff is at 8:15, and you can listen to that game right here on WGR with coverage beginning at 7:30. Sabres are off the next few days. Their next game is on Wednesday. Tonight, though, we do have 7 games in all. Some of the notables, Devils hosting the Red Wings and Columbus on the road versus Washington, both at 7. Florida's at Nashville at 8, then 2 games at 9. Senators at Kings, and the Mammoth host Las Vegas. While in college hoops, UB men are in a tight contest with VMI. We're just under 8 minutes left in the second half, and UB has a 1-point lead. The rest of that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I think that they're more likely than not to make the playoffs, but it's far from a given. You know, with the way they played this year, I think that would be the concern at this point. They just got to make sure they get in the tournament, and I think where those games are and who they're playing should really be the least of their concerns right now. They need to get those other guys healthy, and they need to make sure they get in the tournament and that they're playing their best ball when they get there.
That is where we at. That's really it. I mostly said as much right at the start of today's show at 3 o'clock. Watching New England win again yesterday. Denver was off and not feeling all that great about Indianapolis. They were the team up there that I was maybe least worried about. And they faltered yesterday in Kansas City, and their schedule is hard moving forward. I think they've got 2 each with division teams, the Texans and the Jaguars. Jaguars are 7-4, so that's a game back right now. And the Texans, they can never figure out how to play offense, man. That defense, we got an eye full of that on Thursday night, right? In between, it's Seahawks 49ers. I mean, that's tough for the Colts, but New England being where they're at, I'm done. I don't think I'm catching that. They keep waiting for them to stub their toe, and they just keep winning, including a win over the Bills earlier in the year, which is a big part of the problem. So get healthy, preserve some wild card standing. I don't know. You want to get the highest wild card you can? Do you care? I don't know. Just get in. You don't know until the matchups are set and who's going to be where. It could be that the top wild card spot is the hardest draw. If Baltimore wins the NFC North and doesn't end up with a better record than either Indy, Denver, or New England, who are leading the other divisions right now, then 5-4 is Buffalo at Baltimore if you get the 5. That doesn't sound like a prize I want to win. I would rather finish 6th or 7th and go to either Denver or Indy or whoever wins the AFC South if Indianapolis doesn't. I think that's a much more advantageous situation than going to play Baltimore in week 1 of the playoffs. But, it could happen. There's only so much you can really manipulate and control there, and we're still weeks away here, just finishing week 12 off tonight with Carolina, San Francisco. Is the Monday night matchup tonight. 803-0550 is the phone number. Said we get right back to calls, so let's do that. exactly. Mike is away today, by the way. So you got just me here. Mike is first up this segment, funny enough. Hi, Mike. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, Bulldog. How's it going, man?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys, I think there's a lot going on with the team, but it just feels we have kind of the same approach on defense year in, year out, and I think it's pretty stale. I think we bring back all the same guys. That's what we're comfortable with. I mean, I don't like the front they play, the 4-2, kind of undersized, and I think that's why they're always injured and always banged up, because they're basically too small. And I don't understand it, because offensively, with the ground and pound stuff they started doing, they want to have extra tight ends and extra offensive linemen, but on defense, they want to play small. Like, I don't think it's consistent. I remember back when we had Ted Washington, I think that was the best defense the Bills ever had, when we had basically a giant dude in the middle. But I think a lot of our guys would be better if they played like one position in the other direction. Like, if you took our ends and put them at outside linebacker, Russo and Epineza, I think you'd have, a lot scarier defense. That's about all I got.
All right. I appreciate the call, Mike. Thank you for calling. Sure. I mean, the defense has let them down this year. Mostly, I would say it's because of injury. I do think that their plan here to complement what they had already with the guys that they drafted and signed made sense. And for all our concern about safety, Cole Bishop has emerged as one of the best stories of the year on this team defensively. But what has let them down is that Oliver got hurt, and that the linebackers have been hurt and inconsistent. And they've also aged. I think more than anything. Because, I mean, you make a point that is, I think, you could be debated for quite a while. I think it's a good debate, like stylistically, right? They are, Taron Johnson plays regularly. They're nickelback, so they play two linebackers, and the linebackers aren't big, heavy thumper types. They're more agile. This team has been built on defending the pass, and they do that very well, largely. And whatever you want to make of their porous run defense, to me, what's their worst performance of the year, run defense-wise? I think the first half of the Atlanta game, I think, comes to mind. But that stabilized, and the Bills scored 14 points in a game they lost by 10. So, as much as it's an easy mark, I don't feel like it has gotten them beat. I think what has gotten this team beat is an inability to score against Atlanta and Miami and New England and Houston. Houston that was an eyeful defensively. Those other teams that I just ticked off should not be able to just snuff out a Josh Allen-led offense. So I still have bigger issues there. I think, there's only so much they're going to do health-wise, getting healthier on defense. I think largely what is hurting them this year, in addition to the injuries, is that I think we're watching guys like Milano and Taron Johnson sort of age out. And that can be tough to watch. But they are not. Taron Johnson has got Woody Marks in the backfield on a fourth down play on Thursday night. And as much as he has been a player that you have seen make big, impactful plays for this defense, that is a play that he has to make. And he's not capable of making it right now. And I don't know if it's ever going to change at this stage of his career. But so there's been a variety of things that have happened there defensively. But I think largely it's injuries. The bigger mystery to me about this team is the offense. I was just talking with Ross Tucker last segment, and I don't, the game was Thursday. I'm not sure how much time I want to spend dredging up my inability to comprehend that the Bills did not have a pivot ready when it became very evident very early that they were going to have their hands full with Brown and Dawkins trying to handle Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter single. But they did not have a pivot. They just didn't. The quick passes, running backs, help blocking on the edges, none of it came. And that really, really shook me. As much as you can point to failures on the defensive side of the ball with this team, I feel like in every game that they've lost, I'm looking at the offense more than I'm looking at the defense. And I think the score, I watch every minute of these games just like a lot of you do. Look at the games. Look back at the games. 14 points against Atlanta. You shut out for 3 quarters against Miami. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't want to hear about the defense because I want to hear about everything. I'm here. We're here to talk to you. But I just have such a tough time when the first thing I hear out of someone's mouth is the defense. Be it like the last guy, philosophical, like on the whole, or individual game, this guy, that position, this position, the run defense. I don't think any of it has really got. If they were better, the Atlanta game would have been different. But I scored 14 points against the Atlanta Falcons because they blitzed. What? 803-0550 is the phone number. Back we go. Jay is up next. Hi, Jay. Thank you for calling. You're on WGR.
Oh, hey, Chris. As always, doing a smash-up job going solo.
I appreciate that.
I know you got a bunch of guys working with you, so kudos to them, too. So here's my point.
This is 2.
I am in a dark spot.
They're good. Go ahead.
And, yeah, they're all right. They do okay. Okay, so I'm in a dark spot with this team. I've been a Bills fan forever. I've been through all the heartache and chaos like you have over the years. And I'm having a hard time getting out of this hole I'm in. And ultimately, what I'm left with assessing the team that we have this year is not so much, can they compete in the AFC? I agree with you. They could win at any point and lose at any point. I am really left with, okay, if they ever got to the Super Bowl, are they going to be able to beat teams like the LA Rams or the Eagles or even the Dallas Cowboys, for crying out loud, after what happened yesterday? What I'm left with is really hard questions about the offense. And I agree with you, the defense isn't the issue. I understand why we have the issues that we have. But offensively speaking, I feel like if you have an okay defense and you have a Super Bowl caliber offense, then your only job is to score more points than the other team to win. And I'll leave it here. My concern with this team, which is why I'm in a dark hole, is I do not think that if they get to the playoffs, and that's an if, I think that's an if, they can put together 4 straight, strong offensive game plans to host the Lombardi. And I do not understand how any of us could see them doing that. And real quick, even though the Chiefs won yesterday, I said to myself, if the Chiefs lost yesterday, could they conceivably lose out and they get a top 10 pick, get a revolutionary player, and be back on top next year because of Mahomes? And I'm just left with all these kinds of things about the Bills should and shouldn't do. And I hate being here. And help me out, brother.
Okay, Jay. I'm not sure I can answer all that. Don't worry about the Chiefs going to get top 10 pick. They've got the Cowboys, the Texans and Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. I think the Chiefs are going to get there. I think the Bills are going to get there. I really do. I still think, and look, maybe I'll be proven wrong when it's all said and done. I still think, despite the fact that right now the Chiefs aren't in a spot, the Bills are clinging to one. The Ravens are now in first place, by the way. Same record as Pittsburgh's, but tiebreakers. I think those are still the best teams in the conference. I would much rather play anybody else, anywhere else, I think I'd even say I would rather go to New England or Denver or Indy or L.A. or Jacksonville or Pittsburgh. I don't think I can say Houston. And play a road game than I would want to host Kansas City or Baltimore in a playoff game. I still think the Bills, Ravens, and this might be like, the confirmation bias, whatever. Like those were the heavyweights, and I think they still are, even though the records may not show it. I still think those are the teams that I would fear the most in the conference. So that to me, like, I don't know that you can be. I understand you're in a hole, but I think the whole thing is wide open. So yeah, no, I can't tell you sitting here right now that I feel great about the Bills putting together the stretch of football that would end up being required. But take them one at a time and see what happens. We've seen this team get hot at the end of seasons before. Let's just see if they can get hot like right at the end of the season and be hot in the playoffs. I think that's what we're looking. We're hot in the playoffs, not hot in December. I need to be hot in January. I just need to get there. I need to get to January and then be hot and healthy, ideally. Thanks a lot for the call, 803-0550. More of your calls on the way right after this. Sal Capacio at the top of the hour. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp is off today. This is WGR. Still don't have any, as far as I know, official confirmation from the Bills on this, but I did. If you were paying attention to the social medias over the weekend, there was some noise about Shaq Lawson maybe saying he was in town. Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. Now, right? It's NFL Network, isn't it? Or is he? Yeah, sorry. I got stuck for a second thinking it was ESPN. Mike Garafolo says, indeed, the Bills worked out Shaq Lawson today. A familiar face in Buffalo, says Mike. The Bills worked out defensive end Shaq Lawson. So does that make you feel better? Sorry, I'm just scratching my ear. No, I don't think so. No would be Bulldog. No, that doesn't make me feel better. Thanks for asking. Why don't you give the phone number out again? And I'm not going to do that because Sal Capacio's coming right up. All right, I'll stop this pretend dialogue I'm having with my alter ego. Yes, it's a Monday. It's a weird Monday. The Bills played Thursday, so they did their post-game Monday stuff on Friday, which means they're not talking. Usually on Monday, there's the coordinators talking and Sean McDermott talking and all that. That all happened already on Friday, so they're dark until Wednesday, the Bills. But that doesn't mean we won't have a fresh sheet of questions and conversations to have with our Sal Capacio, which is what we're going to do right after a timeout here. So stay tuned. Sal Capacio and I will pour over the weekend that was in the NFL and put the finishing touches on our analysis of the loss in Houston. All that and more headed your way with Sal and me right after this. I'm the Bulldog. Mike has the day off today. This is WGR.
The Buffalo Bills are back to work as they prepare to head down to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers this Sunday at 4:25. Though because they played on Thursday and we talked to the coaches on Friday, we actually won't hear from anybody until Wednesday when the first injury report for the week is released. Though we did get some news per the NFL transaction wire. Offensive lineman Tyler Rabel returned to practice today. That opens up his 21-day window. And edge rusher Shaq Lawson was in for a trial. We'll get more on the Bills coming up after the update as Sal Capacio will join the show. The Bengals are gearing up for Thursday night when they take on Baltimore for Thanksgiving. T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson will not be among the Bengals who are playing, though the anticipation is quarterback Joe Burrow will be, the first time since September for him. The Browns have named Shedeur Sanders the team's starting quarterback when they take on the 49ers this Sunday. Dylan Gabriel, though, has cleared concussion protocol. The Giants have fired their defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, and Patriots left tackle Will Campbell appears to have suffered an MCL sprain, and while more testing does have to be done, head coach Mike Vrabel is hopeful it is not season-ending. Week 12, though, is going to wrap up tonight with Monday Night Football. Carolina is out west to take on the 49ers. Kickoff's at 8:15, and you can listen to the game right here on WGR with our coverage beginning at 7:30. For the Sabres, they are off the next few days. Their next game is on Wednesday. Tonight, though, we have 7 games across the league. Some of the notables include the Devils hosting the Red Wings and Columbus being on the road versus Washington, both at 7. Florida's at Nashville at 8, then 2 games at 9 to wrap up your night. Senators at Kings, and the Mammoth hosts Las Vegas. And in college hoops, UB men wrapping up their game with VMI. They are up double digits with about under a minute left to go here. So UB men on the verge of continuing their undefeated streak and starting the year 6-0. You can listen to the end of that game, though, on our sister station, The Bet 1520. And Sports Talk on WGR is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch local NFL games live every Sunday all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Oh, indeed, our dude Sal Capacio is standing by on the West Her hotline. Thank you for tuning in to our program here on a Monday. Mike Schopp is out sick today. I am the Bulldog along with Zach Jones. Week 12, the NFL season is blown by. Oh, hang on. Carolina, San Francisco tonight. I forgot about that. Do I have to watch that? I don't have to. I don't have to do anything. I don't think I'm going to choose not to care about this game. I think that's going to be...
Because you're going to watch elite college basketball tonight. I know.
See that?
Exactly.
There you go.
I know where you're at.
Yeah. You know me. Yeah. We've been together a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. It might be a night for TV with me and Mrs. Parker. Although we pounded through all of Slow Horses. I don't know what. We're going to start a new show maybe.
You got to pace yourself.
Yeah.
That's the problem you run into.
Anyway, Sal Capacio is on the West Her hotline. He doesn't care about any of this nonsense. Did you enjoy a Bills-free weekend, Sal?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I didn't enjoy just kind of stewing on like what I saw Thursday night. That was number one for a while. And then certainly didn't enjoy my football team in the college ranks losing 70-7, which was embarrassing. And watching, or I wasn't even watching at the time. We were out a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get home and watch some of the game. And literally before I knew it, Bulldog, did you know how it started? Notre Dame scored 21 points without taking an offensive snap.
Say that again?
I know, right? I didn't know that until it started happening, and I read somebody say it. Somebody texted me, actually. Notre Dame scored 3 touchdowns on Syracuse to begin the game without taking an offensive snap.
That'll set you back.
And then they scored on their second play when they did have the ball. And then on their third play, they had 35 points on 5 offensive snaps.
So they ran the opening kickoff back, then recovered a fumble. No, okay. Tell me how it happened, because I did not see
Pick 6, block, punt, TD, pick 6.
Oh.
I mean, right. So anyway, that's how Saturday went for a while.
Tough.
But I kind of didn't care. I knew they'd get beat. I thought they'd lose like 40-something to 10, whatever. And they thought they'd get beat, but that was just beyond. Then yesterday, frustrating watching some of the games go on and, what was going on in New England. Man, I mean, Cincy, they were there. They played with them, and despite everything, and just, New England just made, again, New England, they get to 3rd and 10, they get an 11-yard play. They get in 3rd and 13 and a 14-yard pass play. Just, it's frustrating watching that happen. And that was all on the road up to Toronto, though, where the weekend ended great because I took Max to his first ever NBA game. We saw the Nets play the Raptors.
Oh, all right. Well, see, that all.
So that was cool.
I like how that all ended, but yeah,
Yep.
you're right. The football was frustrating. If one of the things to help us, heal our wounds from Thursday was going to be, I can root against Kansas City with a clear conscience because I'm not worried about catching Indianapolis or anybody else way up at the top of the conference anymore. That even went sideways because the Colts couldn't close out the deal, and you already mentioned how New England, They don't really kill anyone, but they just find a way, Sal. Like they're buttoned up, and that is the least surprising thing about them. I thought that would be the case with Vrabel taking over, that they would be a team that would, maybe. Sure, they've had their weeks. They turned it over 5 times, I think, against Pittsburgh. So they've had sloppy games, but few and far between, and they just seem to find a way. That team. So
and what really is different about them is sometimes you'll find a team like that and go, you could kind of poke some different holes. They have a good quarterback, though. They have a really good quarterback. Right. That's the difference, right? And he's ascending, and he's in his second year, and they're doing it even when he's not great, but he's been really, really good, obviously, this year. And they're still finding a way here and a way there. And a lot of times it's like, I think about the Colts for this. Like, what is really Daniel Jones, right? They're finding a way. And they won a lot of games, but it's like, they got Daniel Jones. I don't feel that way about Drake May. Drake May is really good, and he's going to be around a while, and he's got the perfect offensive coordinator for him. I'm not a big fan of Josh McDaniels, especially as a head coach, but he's done a really good job there, and I think coaching under Vrabel and coaching Drake May, it's just worked. Now, I also think that they do have a limited roster in some capacity, and they are connecting on a lot of, deep shots, and that I think is maybe not sustainable. They also haven't been totally hit with the injury bug until now. They're starting to. They're losing. They just lost a starting guard and Will Campbell, their starting left tackle, going forward here for a little while. So, we'll start to see, how that looks for them.
Did you get anywhere thinking about what happened on Thursday and how it happened and like anything to make you feel better? My biggest question still, my biggest frustration, and I got into it again with Ross Tucker. I didn't wake up thinking about this today, but talking to him sort of jogged it because his biggest takeaway from the game was the same as mine, which was, how did I not realize when my tackles were in so much trouble that they needed help, and why didn't I get them some help? That still is... Like, I know you're in tough when you have to end up there, but it seemed like the Bills acted as though what was happening wasn't happening.
Yeah, I could get there a little bit. I think it's I think as the game is going on, though, you're trying in certain situations to do your best to still move the ball and say, okay, well, yes, that's happening. What can we do to mitigate it? It doesn't always have to be giving them help. Could it be quicker passes?
Right.
Could it be better decisions by your quarterback? It doesn't always have to be max protect and keep them in, because the problem with that is, as you know, you start max protecting, that's less people in the route, and you're already having enough people in the route where they're already covering all of them.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me. Josh Allen had a lot of time to throw. Now, granted, some of that is him scrambling around baked into all of that. But my biggest takeaway, yes, the offensive line played poorly. There's no doubt. They were bad on that game and in that game. And when you go to a hostile road environment, it gets loud there, and it was loud. It's a night game. It's in Houston. We've talked about how that place can get sometimes. I think you compound it with, okay, you're there. It's really loud. You're getting a play call in late. Josh talked about that after the game on the 4th down. Now you go to the line. It's hard to make checks. You're trying to do that. The play clock is running down. And now you get to, okay, if you have to snap the ball kind of quicker than you want, you better have dudes that can just win, because I got to make a play here. I got to find somebody quickly because things are running down and I can't get to everything I want to get to. And they didn't have that. So now Josh has to stand there. He has to maybe step in and take longer than he wants, or he has to scramble around. And that gives those guys more chance to just pin their ears back. And I just think it's a all-encompassing problem. So, yeah, that was a takeaway. But I'm still not worried about the line overall. Now, granted, without Spencer Brown, Brian Vandenberg comes in, you still want to kind of make sure they're okay there. I'm not worried. I think the issue that goes forward is still the same issue it's been all year. It's on the outside. It's the receivers. It's not that's the bigger issue to me, which compounded the problem with the offensive line on Thursday.
Yeah, I still am at really the offense is the thing that concerns me, which is weird because like that's the thing you could have faith is going to just get figured out because they've got Josh Allen, and that's such a great, that's just a great equalizer to have that piece. But really, Sal, the games they've lost this year, like I know the defense is culpable in certain ways, like the first half against Atlanta was really, really bad, but they still lost that game 24-14. I scored 14 points against Atlanta and lost by 10, right? I scored 20 in a loss against New England, only 13 against Miami. That was 16-0 into the fourth quarter. It's not like I was getting boat raced that whole day. It got crooked late with those two big Achane runs. And then, Thursday night I scored 19. It gets really weird to me.
12 really on offense.
Right. Thank you. 12 on offense. For all the complaining we've heard over the years about the run defense and just McDermott's defense in general, and I'm not here to say like that all needs to be undone and none of it is warranted. The offense has been the culprit, I would say, in the games they've lost this year. They have underperformed in the games they've lost.
100%. Look at their losses and the scores. The Bills have scored 20, 14, 13, and then 12 on offense, 19 total. In their wins, 41, 30, 31, 31, 40, 28, 44. It's feast or famine is what it is. That's what it really comes down to. It's feast or famine. And, when they're feasting and things are moving well and going well, and by the way, a lot of that's at home. On the road is where they've kind of struggled a lot on offense. At Houston, at Miami, at Atlanta. I mean, these are games that they've struggled in the most on the road. Against New England, they struggle, but really more about turnovers, and that's been an issue, turning the ball over.
Yep.
And I'll go back to, again, you're trying to make things happen. Things are going quickly, too quickly. You can't find guys open. Now you make a bad pass. Something happens like that. So I think that's part of the reason why they've had turnovers. I know the defense hasn't been great this year. I know the run defense numbers are what they are, and it's terrible, and they need to be better there, and we all recognize that, right? The Houston Texans had 60 yards of offense in the second half. Right. The Atlanta Falcons were pretty much shut down in the second half. I mean, for the most part, even though the numbers come out in the end pretty crooked sometimes, I think despite all of this stuff going on with the defense, they pieced it together as best they can to give their offense a chance.
That is absolutely where I'm at here, 12 weeks and 11 games into the season here. Sal Capacio on the West Her Hotline with me here on WGR. The Bills have a little bit of a different schedule this week. Normally we hear from everyone, coach, coordinators, on a Monday after a game, but they did all that on Friday, so we won't hear from them again until Wednesday. And, the last update on Friday sounded pretty dire about a couple guys, Spencer Brown and Terrell Bernard. There was, talk about we'll see about IR, which would mean 4 weeks. And Sal, I'm not assuming this team can just sort of coast to a wild card, but maybe settling for that in the overall might be best for their health. They might have the luxury. That's a sloppy way to put it. I'm just wondering if they'll be tempted to just try to get as healthy as they can for January, sort of being resigned to their fate of not catching New England.
Well, that's a tricky needle to thread because they're one game up on Pittsburgh, play them this week. They're one game up on Houston and already lost to them.
Right.
And they're one game up on Kansas City, and we know how that team can turn out, right? I mean, so I don't know. I mean, yes, I think that is the goal, to be as healthy as possible, and I actually think they've been doing that all year, being as healthy as possible. But man, you start thinking about it like that, you could be danger territory because while that's probably right, Bulldog, mathematically you look at it and say, not sure if you can win the division. I don't think they could resign themselves to thinking that way right now because, I mean, if they beat the Steelers on Sunday and then the Giants, who, by the way, took the Lions to overtime, right?
Right.
If the Giants do beat the Patriots on Monday night, which is possible, now suddenly, again, you're, back to a game and a half back. You play them, and then, the Patriots still have to play the Ravens later. I think there's still too much football to start thinking that way. Maybe you get to 2 weeks left, 3 weeks left, and the door is shut kind of, then you have to start kind of really evaluating that. But man, this is a massive game. If they lose this game, they're on the outside looking in, and they do not have tiebreakers. The reason why they're in seventh right now with two teams ahead of them they haven't played, Jacksonville and the Chargers, because they don't have those teams have a better conference record. So they don't have tiebreakers. You lose to Pittsburgh, that tiebreaker's gone. Houston tiebreaker's already gone. You have beaten Baltimore, which is good, but Baltimore's going to win the division probably now, so that doesn't matter. You need to beat Pittsburgh because whichever team doesn't win that division, you could very well be tied for them. And then conference record, it's going to be very interesting because, again, Chargers, Jaguars, Chiefs, you have them head-to-head. Once you start talking about like 3-4 teams tied, that's where you go to that conference record, even if head-to-head you beat them.
Right, that's right. And they've, like you said, they've already lost to Houston.
Yep.
Both of those teams at 6-5, Houston and Pittsburgh, are 5-2 in the conference right now. 4-3 is what the Bills are at. Amongst the teams in their pack, if you will, yeah, that is the worst. 6-2 is what LA is. Jacksonville is 4-2. I just went through. The Chiefs are 3-4. So at least you've got a leg up on them. Anyway, how do you feel about the overall? Like, is there a point in time here? Indianapolis showed maybe their flaws yesterday, not being able to close out a game they had pretty good control of in Kansas City, and they end up losing on a field goal in overtime. We already covered New England and Denver at 9-2. We know what they are: strong defense, flawed offense. I still feel like the conference is pretty wide open, Sal.
I do. I mean, I think that's part of the frustrating part for Bills fans this year, which is you have this team, you have this MVP quarterback, we know how great he is, and yet the conference is there for the taking. There's no great team. I mean, heck, you look in the NFC, it's the same thing, right? Look what happened to Philly yesterday. The Rams are looking really strong right now. They've had their ups and downs at times this year, but they look like the number one team in the NFL right now. But really, I think the whole league is like that. But specifically the AFC, you're right. I mean, right now, Bulldog, if I told you right now, we did this exercise about Indy a while ago, would you take going to Indy in the AFC Championship? And I said, absolutely I would. Like, why not? You go against Daniel Jones. Like, if that's the guarantee. Like, right now, if I said, okay, round one matchup, the Bills are going to Denver. Aren't you like, okay, I'll take that. I think they can beat the Denver Broncos, right? There's no team, maybe Baltimore because of their style of play. Totally get that. It's a bad matchup. Heck, Baltimore struggled with the Jets yesterday. Right, they're just a different team right now, and I don't quite see that team that we've seen over the last few years, despite how they ran against the Bills early in the year and had some success against other teams. So you look at it from a 30,000-foot view. I will go back to something you just said a little while ago. Now, I'm not going to advocate and say start playing load management game, but I will say if you take a 30,000-foot view, yeah, no one wants to be on the road for 3 straight games. But you could certainly make the argument that this year, the way the conference might shake out, it might actually be, I don't know if the word is beneficial, but feel better to be a 5, 6, or 7 and what that path looks like versus the 2, 3, or 4.
Well, Sal, I was over here a little while ago, talking about the 5-4 potentially being, you're visiting Baltimore. And I don't know. I think I'd rather go to whoever wins the AFC South, or if Denver wins the AFC West, I think I'd rather do that on Wild Card Weekend than go to Baltimore.
Yeah, for sure. And Baltimore's the fly in the ointment here, right? So let's say they get 4. You don't want 5. Baltimore can still get 3 the way Indy looked yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
And what happened, right? I mean, Baltimore could still catch Indianapolis. I don't know. I mean, there's still time for that to happen there. Maybe they get the 3. There's just a lot to shake out. So, I don't know. I think you have to just keep playing this out. You beat Pittsburgh this week. You're in a much better spot. You feel you're in a much better spot. Then you get Cincy. Now, look, Cincy has Burrow coming back. We know that. Chase is coming back. They're playing, both those guys, on Thursday night. If they beat the Ravens, which is possible, now we're having a different discussion here in where Cincy is. If they lose, would they consider not playing Burrow in Buffalo 10 days later? But I would also tell you, remember, 10 days. The thing about the Bills' schedule this year is it's no favors for them here in the back end because they're going to get Cincy coming off 10 days. They play Thanksgiving night. Then they're going to get New England coming off a bye. They get 2 weeks. So, everybody else getting a little bit rested and healthy here before they play the Bills. Speaking of that, you asked me about the injuries, so we'll just go through them real quick. McDermott said he called Terrell Bernard week to week, and I'm going to be honest, Bulldog, I think that's almost encourage after the way it looked, to be honest with you. Like, the way that his arm got smashed and bent from Matt Milano's face mask when he came in looked really bad. He called him week to week. That's not great. We know Shaq Thompson has done a nice job. Terrell Bernard has been dealing with the ankle as well. Not saying in any way it's a good thing to be hurt, but maybe he can get his body healthy as long as you can keep Shaq Thompson healthy here as well, and you get a fully healthy Terrell Bernard at the stretch run. Spencer Brown, we don't know, still evaluating, but the team today, according to the NFL Transaction Wire, as as Zach noted earlier, did open the window for Tylon Grable to start practicing. So I'm guessing that's going to mean that Spencer Brown's out a little while, and they're going to need Vandermark and Grable both active on game day. Max Harrison is in concussion protocol. And then really that's it. Benford and Epinesa, McDermott said, are both of them should be fine. And he said Josh Allen is sore, but expected to be fine. The guys that missed last week, Kincaid, which is a big loss for this team right now, Fedarian Mathis and Curtis Samuel, he said, all improving. The team did have Shaq Lawson in for a workout today. Don't know where that goes. I've seen a lot of speculation about what that means for any injuries. Is Joey Bosa, is his injury serious? He's been dealing with the wrist. I went back and watched. He was on the field for the final defensive snaps, and he was rushing the passer.
Yep.
He didn't leave the game. I mean, so unless something happened between then and the game and he decided, okay, like this is too tough to play with, I actually think it's probably more tied to the fact that TJ Sanders has been playing end, and McDermott actually said after the game or on Friday, he said eventually we'd like to get him back inside. We don't really want to have him living out there all the time.
Yeah, I wonder. So I saw someone, one of the tape guys, I don't remember who it was now, mention this, and I haven't gone through to check it, but that since Bosa has had the problem with the wrist, he's no longer. He was switching sides now and then, right? I think earlier in the year. If I'm not mistaken, and that has stopped. Then that would make sense. Like if you're favoring one arm and it's, say, your inside hand, if you're rushing from the left side, not having it to work from the other side, or vice versa, whichever it is. I don't know exactly what, which hand is hurt. I can't recall right now. But I think that's impacted.
Right, I believe. Yeah.
I think that's impacted just whether he's playing, but I don't think he's able to do what he was doing earlier. Because really, think about it, he has not been nearly as disruptive these last few weeks as he was earlier in the year. So,
no doubt, yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Did you watch any of the Rams yesterday? Last night?
No, we were driving. I was listening to it. We were driving back from Toronto. I listened to pretty much up until halftime, and I'm like, yeah, this is ridiculous. So I heard everything going on with Baker. I felt really bad. I didn't see it all though,
Yeah, the Rams just look so impressive. They really, really do. I mean, to have already Puka Nacua and add Devontae Adams, I mean, all he's really doing is catching touchdowns, but those are pretty valuable. They just really look great right now. Yeah. That organization, they've hit on a bunch of picks on defense too, that they just look like the best team in football right now. I think everybody's saying that today after last night, but whatever, I'll take my turn.
Yeah, they do, no doubt. And look what happened to Philly yesterday. Suddenly the Rams are the number one seed in the NFC, right? I mean, they're on a roll here. They're scoring at an incredible pace. They're 30-plus points a game, basically. And look at their schedule coming up. I mean, they're at Carolina. They're at the Cardinals. They get the Lions, and they get the Seahawks again. But, I mean, Atlanta and Arizona is how they finished. I mean, you're probably looking at the number one seed in the NFC and a team that's going to be home for the playoffs and have a chance to play the Super Bowl in their home state if they win a couple games.
That's right. San Francisco or wherever that stadium is. Like Santa Clara. I don't know. It doesn't matter. All right. Thanks a lot for this, Sal. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see how tomorrow shakes out for us.
You got it, buddy.
There you go. That's our Sal Capacio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. All right, so what say you? We've talked to a couple of our regular guests here. Also have had time to take a number of phone calls, lots of opinions. How you're feeling about the state of things. On one hand, the AFC looks wide open. On the other, the downside to that is I think the Bills have proven to their fans that they can lose to just about anybody, given the way some of these games have gone. I mean, Miami's the only real also-ran type team that they've lost to, and Atlanta. That's it. No, I'm standing by it. They've proven they can lose to anyone. So the fact that it's wide open, good. On the other hand, I don't know. I mean, flip a coin when this team gets on the field is how it's starting to feel as this year is unfolding. 803-0550 is the number. Mike is off today. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
Bills got back to work today as they get ready for their matchup on Sunday against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. It'll be a 4:25 kickoff, though we'll next hear from the Bills on Wednesday when the first injury reports for the week are released. However, we did get some news for Buffalo per the NFL transaction wire. Offensive lineman Tylen Grable did return to practice today, thus opening up his 21-day window, and edge rusher Shaq Lawson was in for a tryout, but no word yet on if the Bills have signed their former first-round pick. The Bengals are gearing up for Thursday when they take on Baltimore. T. Higgins, though, and Trey Hendrickson are out. They're not going to play. However, the anticipation is quarterback Joe Burrow will play the first time since September. The Browns have named Shedeur Sanders the team's starting quarterback when they do take on the 49ers this Sunday. And this does come off the heels of Dylan Gabriel clearing concussion protocol, and Patriots left tackle Will Campbell appears to have suffered an MCL sprain. While more testing is going to have to be done to determine the severity of it, head coach Mike Vrabel is hopeful it is not season-ending. But Week 12 is going to wrap up tonight with Monday Night Football. The Carolina Panthers are out west to take on the 49ers. Kickoff's at 8:15, and you can listen to that game right here on WGR, with coverage beginning at 7:30. No Sabres game until Wednesday. Tonight, though, we do have 7 games in total in the NHL. Some notables: the Devils host the Red Wings, and Columbus on the road versus Washington, both at 7. Florida is at Nashville at 8, and then 2 games at 9. Senators at Kings, and the Mammoth hosting Las Vegas. And in college hoops, UB men do take down VMI 78-70. They are now 6-0 for just the second time in program history, and it is a quick turnaround for the Bulls, who are down in Florida. They are up next on Wednesday afternoon when they take on Bucknell. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
We've got a good offensive staff. They'll continue to put together a plan each week that allows us to win and play our best. Just believe in those guys, I really do. And they've had success in years past. I just really believe in what they do and how they do things, and I feel like we're in a good spot. That doesn't mean that we don't have to make adjustments, however, Jay. Obviously, we've got to continue to make adjustments week to week and then within the game. And that's what we'll be looking for as we continue to move forward here.
That is Bills head coach Sean McDermott from Friday's look back at Thursday night's loss in Houston. A lot of questions. I usually do not get to I've got a coordinator problem easily early. Like hundreds, thousands of fans beat me to I've got a coordinator problem. But Thursday was, to me, I still can't really make sense of it. That they were as ill prepared to pivot once they saw that their tackles were not up to the challenge. I mean, I guess, I don't know, you want to just keep trying and hope that it gets better? It does not seem like a real idea, like a real pivot. And I just did not see enough in the way of an adjustment to what was happening on the edges to Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins. And that really shook me up, because I think, you'd go into any game, and if you're misguided and think your guys are going to win or dominate their matchups, okay, like I thought the Bills would fare well up front. And the game begins, and it's just, I know that most of the sacks came in the second half, but the pressure was there all night. And to not have something at the ready was alarming to me, really. So I'm not surprised to hear McDermott talk about, staying the course with the guys that he's got and all that, because it's not a time of the year I'd expect upheaval. But Thursday shook me up. Saturday I had a great Saturday. Mike is first up this segment. Hi, Mike. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, Chris. Great to be on. No other team scares me. Brady scares me. I mean, you're talking about the adjustments that he didn't make. I want to talk about 2 specific situations in the game. Fourth quarter, 3rd and 2, we're in their territory. He runs Cook up the middle for 1 yard. And now 4th and 1, he runs Cook up again in the middle for a loss of 2. End of the game. We got the ball on their whatever yard line. They're 20 close.
Mm-hmm.
We got a 3rd and 1 with 29 seconds left and a timeout. Get the freaking first down. No, he throws the ball. Now it's 4th and 1. Get the first down. Josh has been successful his last 7 times on the tush push, and he's gained no less than 3 yards on any of them. Get the first down, call a timeout, and you got 4 plays to the end zone. Do you realize in that game, Josh did not throw one ball into the end zone? Not one, the entire game. And this goes back to earlier in the year. They're playing New England. They're coming down the field. They got the ball with 2 minutes and 47 seconds left. 1st and 10 at the 27-yard line. And you get a touchdown, you win the game. First play, wide receiver screen, he loses 3. He drops it, or else he would have lost 3. How many times last game? We've used a wide receiver screen 3 times last game and gained 1 yard total on 3 tries. He just seems to want to be too cute. He wants to do something that no one expects happening, like that stupid jet sweep. And come on, you got 4th and 1 twice, and you got maybe the best running sneak quarterback in football, and you don't let him win the game for you, or at least give you an opportunity. That's my concern.
Yeah.
Brady is my concern. He's got to go.
All right, Mike, thanks a lot. Yeah, I wonder if I know the play clock was a thing on the play that Cook got stuffed on, the 4th and 1 that lost 2 yards and ends up at a turnover on downs. And I mentioned this on Friday, and I know Allen did say, like, that's the sequence that ends with him on the sideline saying, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Or something to that effect to Mr. Trubisky. You can clearly read his lips. He's frustrated, and I know he mentioned that the play got in late. I just wonder if that's why. Did he not have the time to ascertain? Be too worried about the play clock to realize that whatever the play call was, and look, I'm not saying like this is like a smoking gun, like Josh Allen is to blame. But he could have made a choice there on that play. He's under center. And I tweeted this on Friday. I'm not going back and finding it again. But, this play is everywhere. There is nothing but grass in front of Connor McGovern. They are strong on the guards, but right in front of McGovern, right in front of Allen, is the player just as they're about to snap the ball, whoever's there like sort of steps away, but there's only one guy that's even near there, and he's not right on the line. How that didn't just become a sneak that no one else even had to know about. I don't even care if you tell McGovern. Like, just get the ball and just follow his rear end. You're in great shape. And so that was a weird, to me, I don't know if I should call it a miss, because, again, I don't know all of the things that could have been happening with Allen there. And maybe the clock is front and center, and it's just he's just harried to get the play off. But, man, it was a gift. Not only, because, hand it to the running back, it doesn't work. Oh, you should have snuck. Oh, what are you doing sneaking? You've got James Cook on your team. Give him the ball, right? Like, whatever works is great. Whatever doesn't, you should have done the other thing. All right? So, but I agree in theory with Mike, the caller. The sneak is still your best bet there. And even without it being called, I wonder how that play didn't end up in a sneak. Because to me, that just should have been the play. There. Allen could have seen it, and I think just taken care of it on his own, and didn't. And that was just kind of weird to me. Denny is up next. Hi, Denny. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, listen, the bottom line is Josh Allen, they got the pick of a century here, and he masked so many fallacies on this team. I mean, if you close your eyes and they didn't draft him and say they traded for Jared Goff, do you honestly think with Sean McDermott at the helm that they would be winning 10, 11 games? Absolutely not. The bottom line is they don't have an offensive-minded coach, and the sad part is the guy who actually is the heartbeat of that defense got hurt way early in the year, Ed Oliver. I will give this much. Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins got roasted this week. But I will take their nastiness. If you could put that tenaciousness on defense and get a bunch of dogs, they don't have that. No one's scared of their defense, and their offense is so predictable now. I'm looking at Ben Johnson. We could have had Ben Johnson. Forget the fact that they might have to go to Denver and play Sean Payton. You honestly think the Bills with McDermott at the helm are going to beat Sean Payton in Denver? That defense is as ferocious as Houston's defense. I feel I did better pray they don't face them. So everybody is saying, oh, well, it's an open field this year. You don't want to play Denver in that altitude? No way. And the bottom line is there's a lot of nepotism here this team is the 2013 Carolina Panthers. The only difference is that team went to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen is way better, way better than Cam Newton ever was, and that team made the Super Bowl. That was the one where, he blundered the fumble and didn't even go for it. The thing with Josh Allen is he's such a good soldier. He's never going to, even when he got tipped off on the sidelines, I don't even think he wanted to show it because he's the type of guy, he's such a respectful dude that he doesn't want to do that. But there is a part of me that wishes he would just get in their faces, whether it's the lineman or whether it's the coach, and just say, what the hell are we doing here? You know what? And he earned that. He's earned that right. He's the MVP, okay? The reigning MVP. He has every right to say, what the hell are we doing here? And show his frustration. But as long as McDermott's at the helm, this team is not going to the Super Bowl. We could have had Jim Harbaugh. We could have had Sean Payton. We could have had Ben Johnson. Shoot, if you wanted to beat Andy Reid, which there's no way Sean McDermott's a better coach than Andy Reid, X's and O's wise, they could have took a shot for 1 year with the enemy. How do you beat the best? Take somebody that was right next to the best. I would have gave even the enemy a shot, but not this team. They're just, you know what? They're happy. We'll just stick with the current regime. Let's get into the new stadium, sell tickets. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I went to see the Sabres play on Sunday. They played with way more heart and passion than this team did this past week.
Denny, I want to congratulate you. You hit for the cycle. Touch them all. You'll never hit a bigger home run. Really, you covered it all. They beat the doors off the Broncos in the playoffs last year. I know the altitude, and we saw home field for Houston on Thursday matter, but Denver does not scare me. I'll fine. I was wrong about the tackles. I'll be wrong about a lot of other stuff. Denver does not scare me at all. At all. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. 803-0550 is the number. I am the Bulldog. Mike is away today. This is WGR. Here on a Monday. Glad to have you with us. Let's get to Mario first up this segment. Hi, Mario. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, Bulldog. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
You know, I've been trying to do what Mike says and go outside and touch some grass after each Bills loss.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law and my wife were really into this Hallmark movie. I don't know if you heard about this Bills Hallmark movie that came out.
Yeah, I have eyes and ears. Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah.
Some pretty atrocious acting from Damar Hamlin, I must say. But you know what? The guy's gone through a lot, so we'll give him a pass. But they couldn't even give a Super Bowl win in a fictional movie. And I thought if this roster wins the Super Bowl, they should make a Hallmark movie about that more than anything else. But anyways, I wanted to get your take on something. I know it's going to sound maybe hyperbolic to say the least, but there's a lot of overreactions, if you will, online right now, and even some media pundits, like the national media pundits, talking about, you know, Allen's attitude towards the team moving forward. Maybe he's going to come to realization like he's being wasted or his better years are soon behind him because they can't put a roster together, or they seem to not want to put one together that's going to help him. Do you think there's any validity in the idea that he might want to get out of Buffalo? I mean,
it's an impossible question to answer. Is it possible that they've wasted him? I mean, so far they have. How he feels about his place in all of that and his responsibility in all that is not something I can even begin to ponder. But you know, we're almost through year 8 here, and they've not gotten where they want to go with one of the very best players that's ever played the position. So, you know, there's you don't get to say, well, we're not even halfway through yet, or he's still at the peak of his powers forever. Like at some point, athletically, the peak will have been hit, and then you know the descent begins. And how quick that comes is it's hard to guess, but it's coming. So they've not gotten it done yet. I mean, I don't know what to do with the big picture there at all, because I just think there's just no knowing, you know, how he's really feeling about all of it. Does he feel like he's being failed, or does he feel like he's failing? I think is the question you want to answer, and I can't begin to tell you the answer to that. But that's the question. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Got to hit a timeout. I'll get you our visit with Ross Tucker right after this on WGR.